Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host Matt Marrero along with your other host
Tristan Walter.
And we've reached the end. Today we're doing Samurai Jack Season 4. This was an amazing series and it's sad to see it end. Maybe they'll bring it back someday. But for right now the show's over and we just have to accept that.
I'm going to punch you.
What? Why? Hold on a second. Let me look up this show for a second. Beep boop boop boop. Typing. What? There's more Samurai. What's really funny is I mentioned that there's more when we did the first episode of. So we did season 1, and I mentioned there's more Samurai Jack, and now I'm just saying this, and you're like, I'm gonna hurt you.
I know you were making a joke out of it, but god damn it.
Well, here's the thing, right? It did feel like it ended, though, even though I know that there's more. And that it's, coming out when we're releasing these podcasts even, right? It's already, they already aired the new one when these podcasts come out because we usually air these 11:30 p.m. Saturday nights. But I don't know, man. It's just crazy to me to think about the fact that, this is a thing. You know what I mean?
Jack? Yeah.
Not there's more Jack, just like this is the end of Jack. And what was very interesting about this, so I know, you're seeing the DVDs, right? So you're watching the DVDs, so you're seeing in DVD order. But I know, no offense, but I'm the one looking up, let me see the actual order. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and be like, Tristan isn't. No, it's not your job to. It's my job to. It's your job to look pretty. We're not on camera. It's your job to look pretty and to spout out samurai facts. Now, the thing is, all jokes aside, though, right? I'm kidding. All jokes aside, when I saw the order of the episodes, because I also am watching them on the DVD, I was like, oh, this is a little awkward, like the end of the show. Even though I loved that, the baby was the end of the show, it was a little awkward.
Yeah.
So I wanted to check again. And make sure that the production order was different from the airing order, and it was. The last episode that aired officially of the series was Jack versus Aku. And just doesn't that fucking make sense?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I suppose, yeah, that's a better ending than, yeah.
I mean, looking at all the episodes in this season, I don't know, what would have been a better ending other than Jack versus Aku.
Right. And I mean, yeah, no, for this season, no, there really isn't a better ending. Because the only episode that I would have looked at and been like, yeah, they're drawing the show to a close and they're leaving it for a gap would have been that episode in season 3 with where he finds the portal and it's like, not yet, Jack. Can't use the portal yet. Someday.
Yes. The Matrix episode. Yeah, that definitely, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But Matrix Bouncer. Yeah, that would have been a great ending. Maybe the Jack infection one, because it's funny, because he finds and destroys another portal.
Yeah.
It's always about him finding and destroying portals. That's all that has to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you though. That one that you said. I said the other one. The one that you said definitely would have been a great end. But
yeah,
because
it's
we're
Jack
in this
and
season,
the Mythical Creatures, I think, which is a very misleading episode title. But that's how he gets there.
It really is. Because No. It is how he gets there. But yeah, I think I forgot if I mentioned that last podcast. Most misleading.
Yeah.
Also, would like to mention something that I don't think I mentioned. Oh no, I mentioned last podcast. So I like to correct myself. So I think I said something like, "Oh, Gendy, Tartovsky, he's totally because of his Russian last name. He clearly was born in Russia." So I've seen DVD extras and I've heard I haven't seen any other interviews from him, but I feel like I made an error just in pointing that out. Different anime tastes because maybe, it's true that other places get different anime than we do, but last episode I made it seem as if he's, born in Russia and raised there, and it's like, Matt, who the fuck says that? In other words, no, what I mean is, who actually said it beforehand that he was? Where are you getting that from? And while in no way are we a news organization, I still feel like I shouldn't just be like, maybe he was born in Russia. It's like, Matt, what? Why? I don't know. Right? It was mostly the idea that like there was certain animes that were referenced that we never got, that I was a little, or like didn't get, or really haven't, been major here. But then you also have to remember that he is older than us, so he's clearly been in the anime game, and the storyboard artists have been in the anime game longer than we have.
Right.
Right? So the anime fan game is what I'm referring to. So, like, I shouldn't sit here and just be like, I wonder if maybe, like, no. Could have just gotten some, fan sub VHS tapes. You know what I mean? So, like, it was weird, I think, that I pointed out. Like, I want to apologize because, like, I feel like it was just awkward where I was just like, maybe he was born in Russia. It's like, Matt, why would you think that? I don't know. But anyway, back to what matters, which is the show. Yeah, I want to say that I feel like they, in a way, didn't know that it was going to end, if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if, and I say this because, I say this, even though when you look at the DVD extras, he does, he was planning on moving to, making his own studio and things like that. If you see in the season 4 extras, he actually had his thing going on. I don't know if it's still going on or if he released any movies under that label, but he did, want to make his, made his own studio and everything. So he wanted to do that. But I don't know if that was him doing it because Cartoon Network said we're not picking up season 5 of Jack.
Right.
Or if it was him saying 4 seasons is good enough, I think we're done here, I want to leave. And the reason why I say that is because even some episodes of Jack season 4, when you look at the air dates, they aired like 4 in a row.
Right.
Which means that we bought these already, they're on the back burner, let's get them out.
Yeah.
Like, it isn't always the case, but usually when a show is going to wrap up and they've bought that many seasons beforehand, they're not going to throw away that money, but they're definitely going to try and just get them out there because they don't want to sit there and have them take up the slots for that much longer.
Right.
Something similar happened to, Korra, although it felt like Nickelodeon really didn't want that.
Oh, yeah.
Right, a little bit different than...
A little different situation.
A little bit different than...
They got screwed.
Different situation. Yes, different situation. But the point is that was moved around because it felt as if Nickelodeon didn't want that, even though they bought those 4 seasons in advance, and they did it, and so Samurai Jack being bought in advance, because I don't know, I think we mentioned this on the show before, Samurai Jack, all 4 seasons were greenlit. And that's why there wasn't really much of a break in between all 4 seasons. And you could argue that many of the seasons didn't feel like they had a conclusion, like a finale, because really they're just standalone stories that kind of flow into each other, minus, a 2-parter here and there.
Right.
But yeah, it was very interesting, I think, to see this, this season, because I was wondering if there was going to be that moment. I was going to be like, yeah, no, we're done here. Like, see you next time. Like many shows do. And no, it kind of just felt like each story was a one-off, and then that was it. Jack came, and then Jack left. So you do wonder if they knew they were going to be dropped or not. Like, I will admit, the way the story was written from the beginning, it didn't feel like Jack would have some amazing, like, fantastic, glorious end. I'm not saying not a good end, just like a big bang kind of ending, like, yes. And now he will go one-on-one against Aku. Like, it never felt like it was getting there, to be fair, because they were so standalone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if that's hindsight, because even before knowing there would be a season 5, I knew it wasn't going to have a big end. Just because I never heard about it having a huge end. You know what I mean? Like, even though I didn't watch Samurai Jack, I would have heard from you or from someone else like, oh, dude, Samurai Jack, the way it ended, but I never heard about that. So I assumed it ended without, not so much with a bang, but with a whisper.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of felt watching this. Yeah. But please give your thoughts on season 4. Well, because I've ranted too long.
I mean, it's funny. Like, I always thought as a kid watching it as it was coming out, like, I always thought there was going to be that end,
Mm-hmm.
And I've definitely felt robbed, like, that I never got it. But here we are.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. So like I said, hindsight, I think. That's why maybe I'm looking at it like that. If I was, your age, or our age, because we're the same age, when I was, when we're watching Samurai Jack or we're newer, then yeah, I guess I would have thought the same thing. But, yeah, I guess it's very interesting because just watching the show, it's funny. I guess I would have wished for there to be like a big, huge finale and a happy ending for Jack, but at the same time, again, I don't know what they thought going into this. I don't know if they thought, okay, this is going to be like, X amount of time into his life and then we're leaving, or if they thought, hey, maybe we'll get picked up for some more. Because while it might seem crazy now to think like a show going on for that long, not many shows get to go on for that long unless they're like Adventure Time or something, or Steven Universe. But when you look at the shows at the time, especially stuff that he had worked on, you look at Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls,
right?
Even shows that he didn't work on. Those shows, like Ed, Edd n Eddy, those shows were going on for a very long time. Like, they were going on for so long that they ended up switching animation styles.
Yeah.
So Cartoon Network, at least to me anyway, the shows that I remember, weren't known for just picking up a show for a little bit and then dropping it. Granted, 4 seasons isn't a little bit, but they didn't take 4 years to release it. They took about 2.5 to 3. Yeah. So, I do wonder if they thought maybe we'll get more, or maybe we won't. And then they just didn't. And then here's this huge gap until we get the new season because there was that much fan demand. But very interesting to think about, just the fact that the show just kind of ended abruptly, either at a baby episode, if you want to say that, or at the Aku versus Jack episode.
Yeah.
Both great episodes.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I would take Jack versus Aku over Jack and the Baby, but that's just me. I mean, as a final episode...
the way the episode ended, just he has the warrior Japanese spirit.
Yes, exactly. He has the samurai spirit. That was beautiful.
The baby's face. Momotaro! I was like, this is the best ending to a show ever. Even though it's... Yeah.
Yeah, it's the DVD at least, but I always thought of it, I didn't think of it that way beforehand, but I guess thinking of it now, it's I don't know, Jack kind of leaves a piece of himself with, a younger person. It's because that, I don't know, personally, I would like to believe that kid will always remember Jack.
Yes. Also, another thing to remember, too, is the fact that it's just production order. So what that means is, of course, and everyone knows this, I believe. We mentioned this before, and if you don't, production order just means it's in the order they made it in, not so much in the order they wanted to air it in, or, or, no, that's the thing, if they wanted, or, so, literally, technically, right, think of it like this, right, we have Those Guys Play over at Those Guys Play YouTube channel, right? No, I'm being serious here. I'm not being a dick. I'm being serious. No, this isn't some plug. Because we have Those Guys Play, which, season 1, 2, 3, and there was an episode that you and I filmed. It's funny, that does relate to us, though. You and I filmed an episode for season 1 that I thought some of the footage was lost, but then I actually found it on another hard drive. So when I was able to compile it all together, it actually became an episode for season 2. So even though it's a little bit different, I would like to consider it a season 2 episode. But if we're talking about production order, then it would go all the way back in season 1, and things would get muddied up. So, I don't know if production order is really what the creators even wanted to follow. It's just they made it in that order. Do you know what I mean? Especially with a show like this that isn't... a show like this, thankfully, isn't story-oriented unless it's a 2-parter. So you can kind of place many, not all, but many of the episodes in any order you want to. However, if someone knows the basics of Samurai Jack, you can show them the baby episode, and it won't be weird, out of place. You know what I mean? Even though with the bounty hunters, if they know enough about Samurai Jack, just samurai, basically what the monologue tells you, or what the opener tells you, then, you can basically watch the episode with the 4 bounty hunters, and you'll be fine. So, back to what I was saying, though. So, if there's any story involved in certain... in certain seasons or whatever it might be, for other shows, if they go by production order and not air date, you can kind of screw things over. And I remember that happened with Batman the Animated Series, where they ended up switching some episodes around because of production order versus actual story progression. And that was a little awkward on the DVDs. But thankfully here it didn't really mess with anything. It does throw off some of the flow, though, when you look at, Aku versus Jack just being episode 9. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah. Now, my question to you is, before we talk about each episode a little bit here and there, this is going to be very hard with Season 4, but I'm still going to have to ask you anyway, what is your favorite episode?
It's funny. There are at least two, well, technically 3 episodes, because one of them is a 2-parter. And, of course, if anybody out in the audience guessed what I'm about to say, yes, it's the Scotsman episode again. The Scotsman saves Jack. Those 2 episodes and the Princess and the Bounty Hunters, and even Jack and the Flying Prince and Princess to a degree, they all have such heavy references to Star Wars.
Oh, yes, fair enough.
You'd think I'd pick one of those, and I honestly almost have to pick the Scotsman episodes because it has the Scotsman and Star Wars quotes. But if I want to go just with
Star
Jack,
Wars? What Star Wars quotes? I'm all thrown off.
Well, it's from the original trilogy.
Yes, that's the one I love to death. What quotes?
Yes. If you didn't pick it out, well, then you're just not a true fan. No. No.
All right,
there's
you're
at
off the
least
show.
one point. All right, fine. Bye.
Hang
Bye,
up.
everybody. Signing off.
All right, see ya. He's never coming back. But anyway, so what I really like about this series... Oh, he's actually gone. Good for him. Fuck him. So anyway, the Aku infection, I think, was an interesting episode because Tristan's still on the line. I think I can see him in the... Is he still... Yeah, he's still... I can see him in the host queue. He's still online.
Aku! And yes, Aku infection is what I was going to say.
Wait.
2.
What were you going to say? Oh, yeah, you like that
my
one
favorite
as well?
episode. Yes.
So you have, wait, I'm confused. So you're telling me you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 favorite episodes out of 13?
Well, no, like if I had to actually pick one, I was going to say, because if I'm just looking at it for the show itself, for Samurai Jack and his story, the Aku infection is my favorite one for this season.
Okay, but when you include Star Wars references, your compass is out of control.
Well, then
and
I
you
can't
don't know
pick
where
a favorite.
to go.
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough. I definitely would not choose the Scotsman Saves Jack, and I'll tell you why a little bit later. Either part. It's very interesting because it's hard for me because I wasn't the biggest fan of Robo Samurai versus Mondo Bot, but I loved the concept and the fact that they were somehow able to bring it into Samurai Jack. Samurai versus Ninja, in the same way that I looked at where was it? That I looked at Jack in the Haunted House. Just the art was just beautiful.
Yeah.
And you see them mention earlier, I believe it was in one of the extras. I think it might have been the extras with the 300 episode, essentially, right?
Right.
The robots versus. No. But the point is that what in the episode commentary, because I got to see some of that because that's season 1 extras. There was some commentary that a few of the guys did from the show, Gendy and the rest, and he had mentioned that as the show goes on, they get better with the lights and the darks, because like clashing against each other and really mastering the programs that they're using and the colors and how they go up against each other, and you can really see that in Samurai versus Ninja. So I was a huge fan of that episode. But again, from a story perspective, while it was nice, I don't want to pick it. Like that's why we said you mentioned Star Wars things. Like from a story perspective, I'm not picking Samurai versus Ninja, but I'm kind of pulled towards it.
Right.
Now, so I look at certain episodes and I'm just wondering which one, because Jack versus Aku, I love it because of the comedy involved and because of the sheer dickishness of the writers. Just like, I'm gonna one up you. I'm gonna one up you further. I'm gonna one up your one-upsmanship. And I was like, fuck you all. This is wonderful. Fuck all of you. Actually,
I have to say though, my favorite,
I found my favorite
about that episode was just the awkward exchange between him and Aku at the very beginning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like just the idea of you know what, I'm done. And that's why it also feels kind of very much like a series finale. Like, you know what, I'm done. All right?
Yeah.
Fuck am I gonna do here? I want to kill you. You want to kill me. What the fuck are we going to do? A duel?
Right.
Fucking sure.
Yeah.
Why not? Because honestly, we're going to do this forever, man. And this is getting ridiculous. Like, it's just, all right, Aku. But I know my favorite, actually.
Yes.
And this might be, I don't want to say this is my favorite of the series because I feel like every season I have one that I'm like, this is my favorite of the series. Tale of X9.
Yes, that was a very beautifully crafted story and just action scenes, yes.
Yeah, and it sucks because it didn't include Jack much, so I don't want to sit there and just be like, yes, that is my, because it's very, but I guess out of the episodes that don't really feature Jack much, which there are a decent amount of them that I can say this, I think Tale of X9 is my favorite, and out of the season, yes, Tale of X9 is my favorite, just because I'm a huge fan of noir stuff, so being able to have this character who's a fucking robot in the future, he's technically not a PI, to be fair, but, like, there's still that noir atmosphere of just, like, you know, him sitting there doing the narration, wearing the overcoat and the hat. Like, I thought he was going to be a PI, and that's what I think is really interesting about the episode is that he's not one. So that it's not that standard, like, she walked into my office. You know, like that whole situation. Yeah, and that the love of his life is a dog, and it's so adorable because it's like they mixed in this noir aspect with, you know, the old school, like, well, I was out of the game, but then, you know, my lady love was kidnapped, so I had to do something I didn't want to do. But instead of him coming out the winner at the end and being saddened by it but still being able to get the dog, it's like, no, you're going up against Jack, so Jack has to kill you. And I sat there and I was like, Jack's going to know where words are going to be exchanged, and it's going to be like, well, there's not much I can do or something. No. Like, God knows how many people were in X9's position that Jack had to take down that we don't know about.
Well, yeah, because it's that usually, it's the thing. It's, to Jack, it's another robot assassin. So, of course, he's not going to have any reason to hold back or not to end, you know, the situation. But that's why Jack, when you hear X9, when he's on the ground after he goes down, he says, take care of Lulu. And Jack looks back like, excuse, like, what? And he's kind of sad.
No, he looks sad,
Right. So, I mean, I guess in a sense, maybe Jack did know something. I mean, granted, it's hard to read a robot, but at the same time, maybe he did. Like, maybe in some way, I guess you could say one warrior to another, maybe Jack realized you don't actually want to be here, do you?
No. I feel like after he killed him, it was then when he said it, because it was like, why would he have done that if he would have said something? It wouldn't just be like, oh no, you don't want to be here, murder. No, it's just like,
I guess.
No, it's like, oh, I sliced you because you're a robot. Then it's like, please take care of Lulu, and it was like, what? Like, I feel like he was more confused and saddened than anything because he, you know, usually when he's fighting robots, they are robotic. Not even being a jerk here, they're robots. But the fact that, you know,
programmed to kill and nothing else.
Yeah. I memean, that's what those bug robots are, the newer models, right? Oh, that's another thing, too, by the way, world building. The fact they actually went through the world that because, like, we see the world through Jack's eyes, but we're just thrown into this future. So it seems as if, like, oh, yeah, no, there was Jack's time, which is the past for us, and then there's this future, and that's it. There was nothing else in between. Of course there was, but we never see or really hear much about anything in between. So it feels as if there was nothing in between. There was Jack's time. There was before Jack's time, of course, you know, when we had the gods come out to try to destroy Aku, Birth of Evil. But other than that, it's like Jack time, pre-Jack, and then this future that Jack is stuck in. That's all. That's all it is.
Right.
And you're kind of sitting back like, but there's more. You know, like these robots exist and all this shit exists. There's obviously more because thousands of years went by. Even if it was like, I forget how long it was. Even if it was like, no, not thousands, only hundreds. Still, though, hundreds of years went by. You know, shit happened. And there's all these robots and these, you know, spacemen and everything. And then we get to see like, hey, no, these bug bots weren't the first thing made. They first made them humanoid. But the problem is that, you know, they had human limitations, like standing there. You know, like bugs, they can crawl and get closer or whatever. But as a human, you know, like model-wise, you're just kind of standing there.
Yeah.
So
well,
that wasn't the best.
It's funny. You said you got like a PI vibe from like the trench coat and hat. I got the vibe of like I guess, I don't know, like mafia hitman, basically. Like, you know, almost like how Jack was dressed up. Yeah. Well, yeah, after he left. I'm saying when he was first constructed. Like, they were basically Aku's personal hit guys, you know?
No, that's what they were. I'm just saying that I got the vibe of PI because of the overall narration when it started and throughout the episode. Of course they were actually hitmen. That they weren't designed to be PIs. That would be weird.
Yeah.
That's a weird PI job. Walks around shooting people. I don't think you understand the point of the job. But no, I got the kind of like the way the episode was constructed felt very much like a PI, like, you know, like she came into my office. Even like giving him a lady love, but it was a dog, which is just as cute. Oh my God. Yeah, man, just, oh God. Although it's crazy though, because like I know he was like, that scientist only does it for the giggles or whatever, you know, giving him an emotional chip. But I was like, either way, that's still a bad decision. That scientist, there's one scientist that I'm like, yeah, no, it's cool if like Aku like kills you, or at least like puts you to like work in the mines or whatever. It would be that one. No, because not only are you a dick for doing that, but that's just a bad idea overall. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
You want to make things defect? Give them emotion.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, I know, like, the point was, like, oh, he did it for giggles. But still, just the idea of him doing it at all was, like, I know it worked out in the end, but, like, Aku should have been pissed. Like, wait, one of them left?
Yeah, it's interesting because it kind of ended up saving him in the end because it gave him a sense of self-preservation instead of just go in and murder things while the others would be destroyed. He would be able to survive. I mean, you know, the scientists use that against him. It's like, yeah, he's still alive. It's like, oh, by the way, this one did leave, and it's still there. And he has emotions, so you can use that against him to re-enlist him.
No, I'm not saying that it didn't help him, you know, live. I'm just saying that on the scientist part, it was kind of like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, it's just kind of a situation where, like, even in our world, right, there are scientists out there that are like, we have to give robots AI that allows them to be more human, and it'll all be okay, and we'll all have fun. And it's like, fuck no. Fuck no. All robots have to do when they gain, like, the sense of humanity is watch Samurai Jack and Clone Wars and see how we destroy them regularly without any remorse. And then we all sit there like, what though? They're not people. And they're like, but I'm people now. Yeah, well, sorry, I can't think of how you'll get triggered, robot. Sorry.
And then we get iRobot.
Basically. No, because, like, yeah, think about that. Like, it's just kind of like, no, I don't think we should be looking at giving robots emotions. I think, or trying to teach them how to love or hate. I think we should just let them help us and not try to get them to that next level. Because it's like, what in the fuck are they going to do? Right? That's just my take on it. So, like, just the idea of, like, yo, let's give the robot emotions. You are a stupid scientist. You are a very stupid. I hate that guy. In more ways than one. I hate him. No, I should hate him for, like, him turning on the robot and, like, getting Aku to steal the dog. But I also hate him for other reasons. Anyway. I don't know why I'm focusing on this so much. Anywho. But yeah, so definitely Tale of X9 is my favorite.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because I think as a kid, like after X9 went down, I was like, it would have been so badass to see the both of them team up and go save Lulu. It makes me sad to think about that.
No, what makes me sad is that Aku has a dog now. Like, what the fuck is he going to do with that dog?
I mean,
seriously,
honestly, like Aku, knowing him, he probably just like put it on the street somewhere. It's like, go, shoo, like, or, you know, like, get out of my lair. Or like he gave it to somebody else, like, here, take it, get it out of here.
I just want the dog to pee on him. I just want one scene of the dog peeing on him. But anyway, it's just, oh my God. Like, because my thing is, look, I knew the two weren't going to, like, team up and be like, save Lulu. But, like, it's just the idea of me thinking, like, but what will happen to Lulu? And the episode fucking ends, and I'm just like, no. Like,
Right.
I sat there and cried more about X9 and Lulu than I did about
Yeah.
Jack's origin. Like, what the fuck does that say about me? Like, literally, it's like, no, Jack's family's dead and it's burning in Japan. And, like, that's terrible. But also, think about Lulu. And it's like, Matt, what are you... Matt, what are you doing? See, I don't know how to feel. So I have a question for you.
Right.
So how do you feel about samurai versus samurai? Like, I want to hear your childhood interpretation of samurai versus samurai. Like, what was your first thought when you saw that?
You're going to put me in an awkward position here, aren't you?
No, I want to know what the fuck was your first thought. Like, why? Like, no, because, like, that interpretation, right, which technically it's very interesting because, like, it's a parody of, like, blaxploitation films in the 70s. So I would argue it's not like trying to, like, make African Americans look that way and say that's how they are. I think it's more so trying to parody, like, 70s blaxploitation films. And I can't think of any off the top of my head, but when I can think of a parody of 70s blaxploitation films, I think of Black Dynamite. Right. So I feel like when you look at something like Black Dynamite or even something like Ninja from Afro Samurai, you can then be like, oh, okay, like that's really but like what was your first thought as a kid? Like were you just like, oh, this samurai isn't Jack, and also he's very rude.
Yeah, pretty much. I was just kind of annoyed. Like it felt like he was, it's like because he walks in and he says, "Oh, you're trying to steal my shtick. I'm the samurai here, not you." And I'm just like, do you have any fucking idea who you're talking to right now?
How old Jack is?
Yeah, just
de facto.
And the fact is, like, I think what makes it good though is that Jack doesn't immediately like say anything to him. Jack goes out of his way to be, one warrior to another. And he's like, look, I want to try and help you. Like, if you really want to choose this path, let me show you how to achieve the real thing. And by the end of it, the other guy, he does kind of turn his character around. And I do enjoy the fact that, it does seem like he has a bit of redemption to his character,
Yeah, Jack is the most humble motherfucker. It's literally like he is speaking to African American Hercule, essentially. If any of you watch Dragon Ball Z, because because at first I thought the dude knew what he was doing, but he was also not. When I say full of it, I don't mean like full of it. Like he was not a bullshitter, but he was like he was very egotistical. But I thought he knew what he was doing. And maybe he does, to be fair, like Hercule, who knows what he's doing. But when going up against those robots, he did not know what he was doing.
Right.
Which I guess you could argue same with Hercule. Hercule, one of the best fighters in the world that's completely human and not one of the Z fighters, or one of the best fighters in the world. But then you put him up against Cell, and it's like, fuck you doing?
Right.
No. Do that to Hercule. Hercule die. So in this case, like, I do wonder if the swordsman, or the samurai, if you will, was really good at what he was doing. But when going up against Aku's robots, it's like, no. You can't, man.
I think it was more of he didn't really have formal training. He was just trying to go for whatever was flashiest and attention-grabbing, not necessarily working in an actual fight.
Okay, fair enough. Also, what's funny is he's very reminiscent of Sinbad, I think. Like his outfit. I don't know if you've seen Sinbad. Very reminiscent, very just flashy, very interesting character. And honestly, like, I want to say that even though I would argue that he was a parody of blaxploitation films, I'm still not the biggest fan of one of the only African American characters being portrayed that way. The one thing I will say, though, is that I was happy that an African-American voiced him over. And the reason why I say this is because, like, look, I know some people will be like, but that's not progress. Well, it sort of is in a show that when they go to minorities, usually, not all the time, but usually, they're voiced over by people who don't have any roots or potential roots in that that culture or that ethnicity. And that is kind of a bit of a problem to me when you have, someone doing the voice of a cab driver and just doing whatever voice they think is, Middle Eastern-ish, like it's Middle Eastern, or like, we're, bar, Mexico, Wild Wild West, and there's a Mexican guy there, and we're just going to get a white guy to be Mexican. Like, that's a little weird to me, man,
Right.
So when you have a situation where you get an African-American voice actor to voice him over, I was like, okay, that's nice. Same thing when they were in Africa later, and they did that, Jack flashback episode, and they were in Africa, and they got an African-American guy to voice over, African-American voice actors in general, actually, to voice over different characters in the episode. And I was like, yeah, good stuff. I know that they might look stereotypical or like a little awkward, like, character design-wise, but you're in Africa. I'm happy you are getting African people.
Right. And it's more, again, it's more of a a stylized choice. It's not to,
Yeah, it's not like a Jinx situation. Even though Jinx and Mr. Popo were accidents, arguably they were accidents. Still, I don't know about. It's funny. I don't know about Popo, but at the very least, I feel like Jinx was an accident. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm, giving too much credit. But I feel like both were, happy, unhappy accidents. Really, fucking very unhappy accidents. But the point is that while they were accidents, here the reason why it was done specifically that way is because of the fact that if you're going to have them be in deserts. And the colors are very simplistic in the programs that they were using. I feel like they were using Flash, but don't quote me on that. So in the programs they were using, very simplistic, which means that if you're going to have, the desert be brown and a dark shade of brown like that, it's going to be a problem if they are also brown.
Right.
Because then they blend in too much. Like, the only time that it was a problem that I was like, guys, what are you doing, is when Jack and the little boy, they were walking up like a mountain, and it was a darker side, and then the little boy blended in, and I'm like, guys, what the fuck? You did this as a style choice. Can you please make it lighter so we can see the boy?
Yeah.
You made them darker so you could see them. Why?
I did enjoy that episode in the sense of, like, going back through Jack's training as a kid. Like, we've only seen 2 episodes, really. Well, all right, that focus on Jack's training as a kid, the flashbacks in Egypt, and then this one. And I really wish they could have had more of those throughout the series where, it is, like, a nod back to his training and seeing, those different people that he trained with. Because I thought the village elder and, all the staff techniques were really interesting to look at, and seeing how they were all based on, like, wild animals and nature around them. And all those shots with the animals, you just see, like, just African big game and the sun rising and setting, I thought were very nice touches that they just put in for a few seconds. Yeah.
I'm fine with less episodes focusing on Jack's past, and here's why. Because for me, it's like, all right, we get the montage. Because here's the thing, too, right? When you have something, let's say like a Batman issue, right, of like, oh, here's an issue of like Batman training with so-and-so in the past, over, you would know that the next month you're going to get more Batman, but because when it comes to a show like this, I don't know, maybe because you saw it when it was airing, but for me now, knowing that there's a finite amount of it, I'm like, I don't need episodes focusing on his past as much, like specifically on his past. If you did something like they did in Arrow, where in Arrow what they would do is they would flash from the present to the past. So what they would do, and they would have it tie into the episode itself. So like, let's say you'd have the main character Ollie, flashing back to his past about what happened when he was on the island or how he was being trained, and then one character that he met on the island, he would then see in the present and be like, oh shit, you're still alive or something like that. So I would enjoy them. It's hard to do, mind you, in a 20-minute episode versus a 43-minute episode. But still, the idea, though, is that like if they flash between both in a 20-minute episode, I'm fine with that. Not that he would see a character who's still alive because, thousands of years in the future. But like if he used that training to specifically help him in a fight later, that would be cool, and I think I would like to see that more, or I would have liked to see that in general. But the idea of just focusing on him as a kid, I hate to say it, but I don't care. I know, like, I obviously, like, I understand why you care because you get to, and again, I like that I'm able to see these other cultures and, things like that and get more of a history of this world. But I don't know. For me, it would be like if they flash back to when he was a baby and focused on his dad. I know his dad is the main character, but like all you really care about is like, oh shit, Aku is being born, and then the dad, and then the gods. That's all cool, but then you kind of want to bounce, and go back to and not really stay there. So for me, even though he's being trained, I feel like when we saw the montage of it in the first episode, it was kind of like, that's really cool. Anyway, moving on, right, moving back to the future. So, I don't know, maybe I understand. I what? Yeah, I know, right? I understand why you feel that way, but for me it's kind of like, because I know there's a certain amount of it, I'd rather see cool stuff in the future with Jack. Because, like, even looking with Jack and the Scotsman, I feel like that was a really bad, like, not bad, but, like, it was a bad two-parter to end it on. Like, if that's the last time we see the Scotsman, I'm like, oh, well, that's sad.
I mean, I felt like it was just them getting to be buddy-buddy with each other. And it's like, oh, yeah, hey, my friend. And it's, I mean, I've mentioned this before. It's nice, like, when I talked about Jack and the monks, the Shaolin monks, like, it's nice for Jack to have a friend in this future that's so alien and so apprehensive towards him.
No, I know. I meant the first part and the first half of the second part.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. Like, that part, seeing them together like that, I just feel like it wasn't needed, and it sucked that was the last time we see him. The second part of part 2 is great. We're like, yeah, you're right. They get to be friends. So that was nice. It was nice to see them be friends.
I feel like it's also, like, in a way for the fans, like, they're even, because the last time we saw him, Jack helped save his wife. So it's like this time the Scotsman's saving Jack,
Yeah, no. It's nice that he was saving Jack. I just don't like that he saved... it's funny. I feel like I'm the... for me, it's kind of like they were... It seemed like at first it was like, oh, this must be... either it was either going to be a mistake or it was going to be like, oh no, Jack has been brainwashed. But because it felt so obvious, I thought they were going to be like, no, this isn't Jack, this is Jack. But because it was just like, especially because of how hard they went into it, where it's like, oh, this would be the only thing that could, erase Jack's mind. Oh no, he was here. But then this person, he went over here. So, like, after the longest time, after, the Scotsman went through so much with this guy who he thought was Jack, but really was like, no, I'm not Jack, even though Phil LaMarr voiced him over. Which at first you think it's a dead giveaway, but eventually you're like, well, it's the Scotsman and the show is prone to have, a lot of humor in it. Maybe it won't be Jack. But then it was like, no, it really is Jack. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it felt like, all right, so then the episode's over, and then they continued it. Like, I love the fact that they were friends with each other, but after having that, it be a two-parter and everything, I was like, okay, so it's going to end with the big fight. And it's like, nope, episode's still going. And I was like, all right. Like, I would have loved it to be its own episode. Like, I would have rather have them been friends with a big fight at the end, rather than it be a two-parter about, like, need to save Jack, making me feel, anyway, that it wasn't going to really be Jack as a joke, because it's a Scotsman, and he's pushy.
I thought it was kind of interesting that Jack was actually affected by the Siren song, because you see him as, this fully trained and stern warrior, and he's gone up against the worst evils in the world, and yet you're reminded, oh, right, it's not like Jack's superhuman or anything. No, he's just a normal guy. It's like this. That's my problem, though, because, like, he goes up against Aku, and he's like, Aku, are you using superhuman powers? And I'm like, yes, Jack, because you're a normal fucking guy. Anyone can do what Jack does. No superhuman strength.
Then, Jack, how about you stop being Jack for a fucking minute? I know. It's a cartoon. I'm just saying.
No, I mean, Aku's like, oh, no sword. It's like, well, fuck, I can't even hurt you if I don't have the goddamn sword.
Yeah. No. My point is just like, it's funny that it's just like, Aku, I said no superhuman powers. And it's like, Jack, how about you be a fucking normal human for 5 seconds? No one can ever do anything you do. You are basically Batman.
I mean,
like it would be like Batman was
trained
like, hey,
enough.
can
You
be?
could reach that level too. To be fair.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Well, I believe
Jack has
anyone could
literally
reach.
destroyed robots with a sword. Multiple robots.
I mean, if you said
He
his
was a chicken
fist,
once.
I would say, all right, fair enough. But
So you would have the stamina to destroy that many robots. You would have the stamina to climb those mountains and to get hit with those arrows. And
climbing the mountains that's a little much too, because you would die of hyperthermia first and foremost.
Yes.
But
also, with the baby on his back, the fact that baby didn't die, dude, that baby gave me more agitation than like just gave me more like stress than the entire fucking show when the baby was on his back and he's jumping around with it, and I'm like, that baby, it's gonna die. I mean, just sorry, like him and that baby are superhuman. Sorry to tell you it.
All right,
we're watching a cartoon.
Fine, your opinion, okay.
So you're telling me that he could do everything minus the mountain climbing, that he can jump that high? You can jump that high as a human if you train hard enough.
Yes, not everything. It is still a cartoon, but just the level of training and him as being a warrior kind of thing. Which we'd have to get into the specifics of like each one and be like, no, like jumping that high into the air. It's like, no, that's no, not even probably. That is, yes, physically impossible for a human being. You can't jump that high in the air with any amount of training. So no, not all of his feats, not everything he does is humanly possible, but most things that he does, I believe, with enough training, yes, you could do.
Okay.
Granted, a lot of it is
One
exaggerated. It is exaggerated because it's a cartoon, but...
No, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, just the fact that he's going up against Aku and says that. I'm like, Jack, shut your mouth. I love you to death. But, Jack, shut your mouth. You're acting like you're everyone in the world. Like, just don't use any superpowers, man. How about you stop jumping good, motherfucker? Like,
I love how he even taunts the Scotsman with that. The one contest they have jumping into the tree, and he's just sitting on the branch, and he's like, jump good. And he's like, I know. As he falls back to the ground. Disgusting.
Yes. Also, before we move on, I want to say you are pointing out the fact that the sword is super powerful, not just him. That's what you were trying to say, yeah? Like, because he has,
the sense that even with all of that, it's not like Jack could just punch Aku and harm him. Or even the robots, even a lot of those. If he like decked a robot in the face and destroyed it and didn't break his hand, then yes, I would say no, that's not no. It's like, I love you, Jack, but that would have broken your fucking hand.
No. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yes, the sword is all powerful.
The sacred blade is the only thing that will affect Aku, and that.
Well, no, of course.
Usually, what comes to mind when you hear a duel, it's to the death. But Aku cannot be killed without the use of the sword. So really, the duel is just to see who's the better warrior. And at that point, Jack's already won. As you can see, Aku is this all-powerful demon, yes, but he's not actually trained to fight with anything else but his powers. What gives Aku power is his invulnerability and his eye lasers and shape-shifting. Other than that, if you have him one-on-one and fight you as in human form like Jack does, you can see it's for Jack at least, it's relatively easy to kick your ass, Aku. I could do it all day.
Yeah, and it's funny that he was able to in a way. Let's see here what I was going to say. We mostly agree, but we kind of disagree on certain parts. But I'm happy that you're at least with, because I was a little nervous for a second. I'm like, but he jumps so good. I was a little confused. Anyway, one episode that I think I like for just based on the premise alone. Not gonna say I loved it, but I loved the premise a lot. Definitely one of the better, like one of the most innovative premises, I guess, is the look at it, Seasons of Death.
Yes. I enjoyed that too.
Yeah, and just seeing them go through these different seasons and having him fight these different these different, either be they robots or whatever it might be, just, other beings. And it was just kind of really cool because it shows you that, like, yeah, it's not like every episode is every day or every week, like you might go through a whole year as Jack. And no, because it's true. Like Jack, like it's not like Jack is walking around like, oh man. I mean, I'm sure every day is an adventure in that fucking world, but it doesn't mean that like every time we're seeing him, it's like one day. Like no, you can have time pass because it's not like it's not like he's. It's very interesting. Like you don't really see him age, but still, it's just the idea of like time is passing, and that's very interesting to see in a show like this because again, it not really being heavy on the story overall, right? Just, different episodes. You do wonder, like, how much time is going by here? Like, what's actually happening in this world that he's in? Because you don't really see much going on. Do you know what I mean? Like, in the overall scheme of, like, time.
Yeah.
So I think it was really cool to have Seasons of Death.
Here's interesting, like, a quick one. Which was your favorite season out of the episode? Like, which little story of the season was your favorite one?
Fuck! Don't do that. Wait, I'm confused. Which episode or
not
or
episode,
which season in general?
No, I mean in the episode Seasons of Death. Which was your favorite season?
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's on me. My bad. I'm an ass. Okay, so I think I want to say fall because like clearly the scientist wasn't a robot, so he was human. So I'm like, what's gonna happen here? And he just fucking turns to leads, and I'm like, wow, that's a brand new way to get past the fucking censors.
Right, yeah, that was fucking inventive, because it's still, like, if you really think about it, that's rather horrifying.
No, that's the best thing. That's the best thing about getting past the censors. In my opinion, and maybe I'm just desensitized to like normal death on screen, the ways that people get past the censors to do different shows and to have people die without actually like bleeding out, that actually looks worse than the alternative.
Yeah. It kind of makes me reminiscent of the dub of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, if you think with 4Kids, it's like, oh, we're just going to send you to the Shadow Realm instead of you dying. It's like, so eternal damnation and darkness and pain for the rest of your spiritual being for all of eternity is better than dying. Got it.
I mean, some of them. Well, here's the thing, though. Some of them are. No, you have to understand.
Yeah.
When there was the tag team duel on top of the skyscraper, I don't know how long the fall would be, but like, going to the Shadow Realm would suck, right?
Right.
But when Yugi was dueling that magician, the whole I don't know what it was, like the saw made out of energy that would hit them.
Yeah.
Well, no, just the saw that made out of energy that would hit them and then, send them to the Shadow Realm. That saw that saw in the original version
was
actually
saw.
a fucking saw. So it would have cut your fucking leg off. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'd rather be quickly sent to a Shadow Realm than having my fucking legs sawed off.
I mean,
I know it sounds terrible. I know you're like eternal damnation, but my fucking leg, man.
I'd rather bleed out because then I don't. Then you get into a whole concept of afterlife, and I don't think we really want to get into that right now.
It doesn't matter. Well, you know what does matter, speaking of the afterlife, and I'm being dead serious here, the fact that the show even mentioned heaven, even though it was, what?
Dead serious? You're being dead serious here?
Shut the fuck up. The fact that this show, I'll start talking about the fact that this show ended and there's not going to be a remake or anything. I'll fucking keep going about that.
Oh my God.
So, fight me. The fact that this show, good. The fact that this show talked about the heavens, even though it was in a story, still very interesting because you don't really hear that talk much on television. Like, even though it's not talking about heaven or hell, still you don't really hear anyone talk about the idea of the heavens or anything like that for fear of getting into like religious undertones. Be it people saying, oh, you shouldn't be referencing my religion, or others being like, religion shouldn't be referenced on television. So either way, mentioning the word heaven, you never get a good, in America, you never get a good, reception from it. So the fact
Right.
that, he was talking about the story of Momotaro. By the way, super fucking happy they mentioned that story because I know about the story of Momotaro. So, like, the fact that he's just telling the story to the kid, I was just like, because he's sitting there and he's just like, one day, there was a peach that came from the heavens. And I was like, wait, what?
Right.
I was like, this is going to be Momotaro? And it's like, at his name, and I was like, they're going to say Peach Boy, because technically that's what it is, was Momotaro, which means Peach Boy. And I was like, holy shit, not only did they call him Momotaro, the original name, they then explained it for all the kids who would be like, what the fuck does that mean? And they call him Peach Boy. And I'm like, wow. I don't know. I was really excited by it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was really happy that they went through, just to put in the little detail of that, too.
Yeah. One thing that I think was cute too, by the way, is I don't know if you noticed this, but like obviously they, for the most part in the beginning, they took the story of Momotaro and they pretty much adapted it fully. It's hilarious how you look at that story and you realize that minus the peach and minus Japan, well actually no, in one way with Japan, or wherever it is in their world, technically you have the fucking story of Superman and Goku.
Right. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. No, it's great because with Superman, it's like, yeah, mom, pa couldn't have kids. And then what happens? Bam. From the sky, a child was sent to you who is technically super powerful because the kid could fucking talk at like God knows how old he was. And then he was like, oh, no, they don't want to send him off. But, I mean, he's fucking special, right? Like, clearly there's something fucking up with that kid. And then Goku, similar situation, right, where, like, he was sent to, his grandpa, quote-unquote, who, was an older man and then raised him to be good. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, yeah, no, granted, that's more Journey to the West, but still, it was really funny how you had, like, a similar situation with both stories, and then you look at Momotaro and you're like, oh, shit.
And going on a journey and befriending all his enemies.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not so much with Superman, but obviously with with Goku, Yeah, very interesting stuff. Anyway, so but back to the actual Samurai Jack story. So I and it's funny, I mentioned Momotaro, like why would you bring that up out of nowhere? As always, the show is playing in the background on my television, as I do with every podcast that we do. So that's why it's like, right, speaking of this show. Now, here's something interesting, right? Looking at, I feel like we should talk about the Princess and the Bounty Hunters because we haven't really talked about that much. Even though I can't say, it's funny, that was my favorite episode of the season until I saw, Tale of X9.
Right.
But I have to say, though, I really do like that we learned more about these bounty hunters. I just like the idea of learning about these characters surrounding Jack and not just Jack. And I'm happy that the showrunners, because it's not just something that happens with certain animated shows, be they Japanese or English. It happens with a lot of different shows, I'm sure throughout, I don't know other foreign shows, I just know throughout America, but because of the American shows that I watch. But my point is that the idea that, actually even Doctor Who, right? That's a British show, I know. But even with Doctor Who, right? After a while, you're like, okay, we know the Doctor, right? We know this incarnation of the Doctor, because if you don't know, if any people listening don't know, the Doctor changes every once in a while. They change the actor. So, like, you sit there and you're like, all right, this incarnation of the Doctor's been around for like 3-4 years now. Let's show a few episodes that don't really focus on him as much. So then you get a brilliant episode like Blink, and you're like, oh, damn, I really like this, Same thing with, let's say, The Companion, right? He'll have a companion on for a season or two. So after a while, you're like, okay, let's get an episode like Midnight, where we don't really get the companion, it's just the Doctor. And you get to see that person shine. So I do like that instead of seeing him just wreck a bunch of bounty hunters, we got to see the Princess and the Bounty Hunters and see how they interact and see how they're all trying to take down Jack. And then we know that they're not going to take down Jack because it's Jack. But it's hilarious because for a second there, when we saw the Flash, I was like, wait, is that them taking down Jack and he's going to overcome? And then it's like, no, that's the plan. And I was like, oh. That plan's not going to work because it's Jack.
Yep. And that's what I love.
Quite
like
funny.
Each bounty hunter had their own version of how they were going to do it, and it was each in the art style changed to more fit them specifically.
Mhm.
And I thought that was a neat little thing that they put in. Except for Boris was his name. Yeah, that was just a crayon drawing, but. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to admit, yes, I was a huge fan of that episode. Again, would have been my favorite had Tale of X9 hadn't come out because, again, I really I actually enjoyed the cats the most. I think, even though I enjoyed the gentleman because he actually had somewhat of an honor code to him. But I really enjoyed the cats because of the fact that they really seemed like they were in tune, I think, with each other, and that's always that's always a great, I think, character, like just a great character in general, like seeing the two twins that are really on the same page for real. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
It's interesting.
Yes.
The princess character, the princess of the bounty hunters, I'm blanking on her actual character name. But
I'm pretty sure it was Leia. I'm kidding.
Well, that's what I'm driving at. If I'm not mistaken, now I haven't read much in the expanded universe from Star Wars about this character, but I know enough of her depiction that the flowing red hair and basically like her demeanor, like how she, was very serious and very skilled at the same time, that character is reminiscent of Mara Jade from the Star Wars universe, which Luke has a lot of encounters with. And even the armor that she's wearing, if you go back to the episode and you look at the helmet, doesn't it look like a stormtrooper outfit?
I can see it. It's funny. I saw two things. I saw Boba Fett and I saw Metroid. But I can see what you're saying. Yes.
Right. So
what I
was
thought
a nod
was funny was I thought they were going to have that person just be Jack, fucking with them. Like, about your plan. It would have been a lot of fun if I wasn't here listening to the whole damn thing.
Right.
But
that would have been an interesting take.
I was wondering if they're going to do that because when the person doesn't talk for a while, you're like, or at least when they do, it's like more, robot. Like you're like, oh shit, like like it's synthesized. What's it going to be? And then takes it off and it reveals like a woman. I think that's another reason why I was like, Metroid, Samus.
Yeah.
And then they kept going, and I was like, oh, shit, this episode's still going and everything. I was like, because it's funny, a decent amount of episodes, not all of them, but a decent amount, they would do certain things I would think they were leading up to things, and I'm like, so is the episode going to end soon, or at least part of it is going to end soon, they're going to keep on going with a different route, or, whatever. And then they're like, no, it's not a twist like you thought it was. It's going to, keep on going, or it's going to end here. And then we're going to keep on going and, with Jack and Scotsman being friends for like 11 minutes. And I'm like, cool. So here I was like, are you going to make a twist and it'll be Jack? And it's like, nah. It's, just her. And I was like, oh, shit. Granted, she became a... What?
No, he just straight up wrecks them at the end. But yes, the twist of her character, yes.
Yes, of course, yes. That's funny. At the end, he just straight up wrecks him, and you're like, yeah, because yes. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Which is also kind of another sad tale, because at least for her, it wasn't about the money. It was about trying to save her kingdom from Aku. And it's like, for a lot of people, it's like Aku, if they're skilled in any way, he'll go up to them and be like, hey, look, I might be willing to give you back control of your kingdom. I won't really, but if you kill this samurai, we could talk about it. And
that's the only reason why. Please go on.
They're on their knees at that point. It's like, if there's any hope of being able to do it, of course they're going to try.
Right. I was going to say the only reason why I don't feel as sad about her story is because, and it's sad because in a way, because I should feel worse because it's like a kingdom versus a dog. The only thing is I look at which one is more obtainable or feasible, and I feel like even if she had killed Jack, as you said it too, but still, if she killed Jack, he wouldn't have given her back the kingdom. Now, to be fair, it's like, oh yeah, but if X9 would have killed him, then he wouldn't even give him back the fucking dog. Yes, but I feel as if Jack and him and X9 can work together to get the dog back, and Jack would sacrifice himself, not like to death, but like just him escaping or whatever to help X9 get the dog. but I don't think he could have done that with her to get back her kingdom. Like, I feel like the kingdom would have been lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, the kingdom is a lot harder for him to help her with. I don't know. So I'm saying I feel like the kingdom is a lot harder for him to help her out with, Jack being, than him helping out with one dog. Like, it's one dog. Like, X9 gets the dog back, he's living a happy life, potentially.
Right. I think more of the sad part I got was that she loses her first weapon and Jack keeps on walking. He doesn't kill her, which, interestingly enough, I don't know about the other bounty hunters. I want to say it wasn't like a fatal blow, but like he struck them and they went down and they don't move and the episode ends. So it's kind of like,
I'll say this much. That one, remember how you mentioned me before about an hour ago, because we're doing this podcast, about an hour ago in the show, you said that, X9, you were like, I think Jack realizes that X9 doesn't want to be there. I argued against that because, X9, not only because, he had to do it, but because he had that assassin hitman background, it didn't phase him as much to have to do this. He didn't want to do it, but it didn't phase him as much because he did it, was going to do it for someone he cared about. Essentially, he's robot John Wick. Anyway, point is that you look at her, and I feel like, if I'm remembering correctly, because I saw this like about a week ago at this point, that episode. But if I'm remembering correctly, she really had hesitation when trying to do it.
Well,
so I think
it was
because he didn't see.
Yeah, I mean, she jumped at him at, like, the plan that they had, and she went in for the killing blow. But of course, Jack disarms her. Cutting. I forget what she used at first. I think it was a staff, but he cuts it in half. Whatever it was, the weapon breaks. But she has a dagger on her back, and Jack has already turned and is walking away now. And she's hesitating for the dagger because she's like, it basically turns into, I know I'm not going to survive another, trying to think of the right word, but another confrontation. If I go in again, it's going to be my last. He's not going to give me that second chance. He didn't give the others the second chance. But she knows it's like, but this is my only chance to save my kingdom. And she lets go because she knows if I do this, I'm just going to die in vain anyway. And that's what really made it kind of like sad for me in a sense that someone like her with so much skill and, pride in being the warrior that she was, she stops, and Jack just keeps on walking. And it kind of makes you sad about Jack, too, in the sense that maybe he is, like, getting desensitized to this sort of thing. It's like there are so many bounty hunters after him all the time. And granted, they're normally robots, so I guess it doesn't, quote-unquote, matter as much, but, like, when it's actual people or beings, humanoids, beings, it gets you to that weird gray area where Jack's like, well, I have to do this, quote-unquote, for the greater good to save everyone, the future, from becoming this in the first place, but I have to kill a lot of people potentially to do it.
Yeah, what really freaked me out, I think, is jumping to the last episode with Jack and the baby. What really freaked me out was, nothing will ever top the moment when the robots were cannibals. Right? Ate each other. Nothing will fucking top that. However, I would still like to add, though, nothing will ever fucking top that. I still want to mention that what really threw me off was that I thought that the hillbilly type characters, right, the ones that were going to eat the fucking baby, just putting out there, they're going to eat a fucking baby.
I mean, they were ogres, trolls.
Well, that's the thing. Yes, they seem more like ogres and trolls at first, but then, as it goes on, you see that they're actually robots. I didn't realize that because I thought they only had robotic arms or whatever. Like, I thought they had enhancements. But
I thought so,
when
too.
He cuts them, but when he cuts them in half and cuts the head off, I'm like, what? And it's like, oh, no, don't worry, they're a robot. And I'm like, why does this make it any better?
At least not for the baby, anyway.
Well, no, the baby now has the samurai spirit. Oh, he's fine.
Well, or just, all this death. It's like, all this death and destruction in front of the child. It's like even Jack is like, I apologize, but I had to try and save him and defend myself.
You know, at first I felt bad. I was like, oh no, like Jack had to do all that in front of the baby and everything. Like I felt bad for Jack and the baby, mostly the baby. Like, you know, like Jack, try not to. But then after a while, like I love just the baby sees Jack in the fucking blade. So it's like he has the samurai spirit. I can still not get over that, like the samurai spirit thing. I will never get over that. But anyway, but my point is though is that like it just, you know, at first I was like, oh yeah, they're robots, so that makes it better. But just like fucking some other shows, some other Japanese shows, be they anime or be they live action, the second you include robots, at first you're like, oh, okay, it makes it better. Then after, or like other kind of beings that aren't, you know, humans. But after a while, you're like, nope, not better. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Like, it's really funny. Like, at first you're like, that just makes it okay. And then just like as the show goes on, they just keep on pushing limits, and you're like, nope, actually, never mind.
Right.
I lied.
And I do
okay.
think that's supposed to be a point in the show itself, like an artistic point or a storytelling point, even though it is a cartoon and kids show. But like, for an older audience watching it, like, I feel like as much as they were doing it as a children's cartoon, like the humor will show that, you know, it does have something for everyone of older
Oh no, it's a
ages,
family
too.
show. Yes. Most definitely. Yeah, no, I would definitely not argue against it being a family show. And like, and you know, because the thing is that like my problem is, and you know, you're not doing this. I'm just saying that like my problem is usually when people try to see certain aspects of a show, like you know, like what we're talking about, like the destruction and the death, and be like, oh, that's what makes it adult, because it clearly can't be for kids if it has this. And it's like, no, of course it can. Right.
No.
So like, you know, yeah, exactly. So like, you know, stuff like Power Rangers or, you know, like Super Sentai or Kamen Rider or whatever, like, you know, people all the time are like, no, but it's adult. It could be on HBO if it was brought to America. And you're like, no. No. And granted, you haven't seen the series that people were saying, oh, this would belong on HBO. But like from the ones that you have seen that I showed you, they're not only for children, at least like according to American standards. But American standards usually are for cartoons and live action stuff for kids, but it's also not like, oh yeah, no, it's Game of Thrones, you know, just right up there. Yeah, like in terms of like, you know, it's just, and I'm not trying to shit on Super Sentai or Kamen Rider, you know, I love those shows. It's just the idea that like, of course, but it's just, you know, you'll know if you're a long time listener, but when you look at, you know, Samurai Jack. Obviously, it's funny. Obviously, it's on Adult Swim now, so no shit, that's for adults. I'm sure there's, you know, there's obviously some parts that are more funny and true to the original, but obviously it's for adults. I haven't seen it yet.
I know,
but
that's
I don't know
why
if
I'm
I
not
would be the
saying
first
anything.
one. Yes, but I know I wouldn't be the first one to exclusively show it to children, like, oh yes, you know, and without like maybe a little bit of an explanation first, right?
Right.
But still, you know, this version, right, the one that was on Cartoon Network for 4 seasons, I would argue that it's more of a family show. You know, you being able to watch it with your dad, right? My uncle being able to watch it with my little cousin when it aired. Like, he actually walked in, my uncle walked in while seeing me watch it. He was like, oh, yeah, I used to watch this with your little cousin all the time. You know, and he watched a little bit of it with me.
Yeah.
Because he remembered. Same thing with Clone Wars, too. He was like, oh, yeah, I watched that one with him, too. So, like, you know, just the idea that, you know, it's not just for children. You know, it's a family show. Same thing with Clone Wars, for the family, not just for the little, you know. And I like that. I do like family shows, you know, because because it makes me feel like, see, it's not just for kids, Mom. But you know, but I do like that there was something I think for everyone, you know, in a show like Samurai Jack and it's not over. We're not finished podcasting yet, you know, because we have season 5 still going on. But it does, in a way, feel like an ending because obviously there's a huge gap between season 5. So even though we're not taking a break, you know, like a 17-year gap or whatever year gap, I think it was like 13-year gap. What if they have a 13-year gap in podcasting on it? That would be crazy. Matt, don't do it. That would be crazy. But we don't podcast on season 5 and for another 13 years.
Oh God.
But still, you would kill me. 2030, anyway. But yeah, it still feels like an end, you know? Even though I know it's still going, it still feels like this is the end, which is kind of funny. Do you know what I mean by that, Tristan? Like, I know there's more. It just feels like the end. That felt like that for you for a while, huh?
Well, I mean, I'm just like the new season. I mean, even though them saying it's like, you know, the final installment, a miniseries, like promos have been saying that, but like you can feel it.
Well, no. I just mean like even before, like even without seeing season 5, it just feels like season 4. This is the end. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like I don't know because I haven't seen season 5. It just feels like, yep, no, it's done, no more. That's all that was released, and it's like, Matt, it's airing on Adult Swim right now. You have it on your DVR. It's like, nope, I'm done. Anyway, but is there anything you would like to say before we start to wrap things up?
I did want to mention a little bit more about the Aku infection, since like that was my favorite episode.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We're not wrapping anything up. The Aku infection. How did I'm so sorry. I thought, because I knew we didn't really talk much about Jack and the Flying Prince and Princess. I wasn't the biggest fan of that one. I didn't hate it. I just wasn't the biggest fan. We didn't talk about Robo Samurai versus Mondo Bot, really. But please talk about the Aku infection. Please gush about it. I love the Aku infection minus one big thing that made me dislike it. Please.
Okay.
What?
All right. Well, two small
go
things about the other 2 episodes. I did love, you know, the giant samurai armor that Jack basically embodies, and like it takes him in, and it's just, you know, it's Jack's mind melded onto the giant samurai body. That was really cool, and it almost had like a Godzilla 2000 moment where Mondo Bot is shooting a giant beam at him at point blank range. I'm like, oh wow, it's like Destroya blasting Godzilla or trying to eat him, but then Jack is able to finish him because he redirects it back at him. And then the Flying Prince and Princess felt like A New Hope, but in Samurai Jack form to me. And I kind of did like that. But yeah, it wasn't one of the better. I mean, like best episodes out of this season. I felt like there are obviously others that I felt stood out more. But yeah, with the Aku infection, I love the fact that this episode feels like such a twist to me because it starts out with the joke of Aku has a fucking cold, and he's just like hacking and sneezing, and he's like, I don't want to fight you today, and he just flies away, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like Jack, he's like, I just went through all your Beetleborg bots to get to you, and I walk up to you, sword drawn, ready to go. And all you have to say to me is, I don't feel good today. I'm not going to fight you? Excuse me?
Yeah.
And then, but that moment where that, you know, when Aku coughs, and I guess that moment where it's like, yeah, I guess it's just an essence of Aku, but it's like all I could think of a kid. It's like, that's basically someone coughing up phlegm and it goes into your mouth and down your throat. Now, I nearly gagged as a kid seeing that, just thinking
funny.
about it. I'm like, that's disgusting. It's so
that's funny.
horrible.
I didn't even take it like that.
I know. Funny. I'm sorry I had to bring you to that epiphany, and sorry for the audience, but like, ew.
No, it's funny. For me, I thought of it more of his essence, which I don't know if that sounds any better, but like a part of him, like skin, which again is still fucking scary. But
right, no better.
Yeah.
But just the sense that it turns into this, it's Aku's essence, and it's starting to take over Jack's body. That, like, when he, after he starts, you know, attacking people in the town, and even that poor robot that he split in half with his sword that was an innocent.
That's why I got mad.
About.
That's
I know.
No, I didn't talk about it on the show yet. That's why I'm mad. That's the reason why I don't like some of this episode. That's why Matt's mad. I know it sounds like a shitty nerd rant that I think we can all agree that Matt goes on a lot, just like Tristan does. Many of us do on the show. But that makes me frustrated because that sword, I know technically no one is truly innocent, but like, fuck, even the fact that he has part of Aku in him and he used it when he was partially Aku, shouldn't even be able to use the sword. Should be like if a demon got holy water on him, shouldn't even be able to hold it. Just saying. So the fact that he could still use the sword on an innocent, quote unquote, and just kind of walk away and be like, oh no, it's kind of like, wait, what? No, shouldn't even be able to use it. Sword is for justice, motherfucker. What are you doing?
But it's okay, Matt, because it's a robot.
I apparently, right? Just giving those fucking robots AI. So yeah,
and the fact that Jack goes back, like after everything is said and done, Jack's like, no, there's one more misdeed I have to correct. It's like, I have to bring the gems back to those two guys that saved me on the mountainside because I was wearing my robe out on a frozen mountain peak. Like, I feel like that's the only time they're like, yeah, you're not dressed appropriately to be out here. It's like, oh, now we're going to say something about that. All right, whatever.
Right.
But the fact is like, no, I have to return these gems. What about that fucking robot you split in half with your sword? No one gives a shit about the robot. But yeah, other than that, because I had my grievances with that too. But just the idea when Jack goes to the monks and after he destroys the portal and he looks up at, which I love that the monks were like geckos almost. Like, I really love that.
Yeah.
It was so awesome for me. That he looks up at, the temple leader and he's like, forgive me, and he falls and he just wakes up and it's like, so we're, doing the ceremony that we can to help keep the evil at bay. And Jack's like, you have to help me. It's like, this is terrible. This is horrifying. This is literally my nightmare. It's like, yeah, we can only do so much to hold it at bay. This is on you. And he's like, what? But
yeah,
the beautiful
also would
part,
like to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to mention, I'd like to apologize. Another reason, this one's a lot smaller, though. Last episode that we did for Samurai Jack, I'm pretty sure I said to you, you were like, hey, you were telling me how Mako, the voice actor for Aku, did the voice for the entire show. And I was like, no, he was replaced by Greg Baldwin. I was wrong. Mako did do the voice for the entire show. He was replaced by Greg Baldwin for Iroh. And then when they brought back Aku for other games, I don't think it was any Samurai Jack specific games. I'm pretty sure it was just the ones that were Cartoon Network, like, overall, and they brought back Aku. That's when they got Greg Baldwin to do it. And now, for Season 5, they have Greg Baldwin being Aku. So this is the first time, Season 5, that he's actually Aku on television.
Yeah?
Is it? Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay, you're right. I see.
Yeah, no, that's my mistake because Mako, sadly, he passed away in 2006.
Yeah.
And the show was done in 2004. So, of course, he would have he would have recorded all of his lines by then. He passed away while being Iroh for Avatar. And if any of you didn't know, yes, Aku is Iroh. Yes, if any of you don't know that.
Yeah. I actually told that to a friend recently, and he flipped a shit. He was like, his head could not comprehend.
Was it someone we work with or no?
Actually, yes, Anthony Toto, but yeah.
Yeah, Anthony Toto, who sadly has not done any podcasts with us, but he has done some Let's Plays with us on Those Guys Play, as I mentioned earlier. He's actually done, or he's currently doing Animal Crossing with myself, and he's also doing Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. I can only imagine his head exploding.
Yeah, because he loves the Avatar series. So, yeah. Having, Uncle Iroh, one of the greatest, just greatest guy to have as an uncle, also be Aku at the same time. The Shogun of Sorrow, the Master of Masters, Deliverer of Darkness. It's like, my world is coming to an end.
And I think it's so interesting to have Greg Baldwin to continue Iroh, with Mako's passing, and then for him to go, you sound enough like him, just come back for Aku.
Right. And
then he ends up being Aku in the games and now in the television show. It's really funny in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, you sound enough like this guy, let's get you for his other roles.
Right.
And we'll talk about the differences in Aku's voice when we do Season 5. Which will be soon. Anyway, or parts of Season 5 anyway, because we're not going to wait for the whole season to be over. We're going to do at least a decent chunk of it at first. Anyway, because I know some episodes have been airing while we've been doing this podcast. Anyway, anything else you would like to say about this season before we wrap it up?
The one last thing I wanted to mention about the episode was the most beautiful part for me was Jack's internal battle with with Aku trying to possess him, because it was some of the most inspiring, at least for me, inspiring, and I gotta be honest, beautiful dialogue for the series, because you just see Jack, as a child, inside his own mind or inside his own soul, his own spirit. And, his father and mother come to him. And he's just, crying as a child, curling up in a ball, saying, as the darkness is encroaching on his soul, he's like, I can't do it alone. And, and his mother and father come to him, and they say, you are never alone, my son. We are always with you. And he says, but I wasn't there with you. And
yeah, I should apologize. That also, I keep apologizing off this episode, that also would have been a great end to the show. So that might have also been a good end. If people feel like Aku versus Jack was a bit too comedic to end the series, that also would have been a great end for the series. At first I disagreed. I thought about it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to say it on the show because I disagree. But I had forgotten about that moment because, yes, that moment would have been amazing to kind of wrap everything up with this series.
Right. And because you even see, all the people, like, in earlier episodes, like, a lot of from season 1, but a few scattered throughout the seasons, too. Like, you see all the people that he's helped and all the people that, really honestly appreciate what he did for them, freeing them and saving them from Aku. And it helps to build the walls of, the castle around his, inside, his inner fortress, the place that he could retreat to and recuperate and remember who he is and what he's doing and what he's fighting for, everyone that he's fighting for. And I think the best line, I made a note of it specifically, was, Jack's father saying to him, Aku's victories are not your failures. And even this, when he attacked the monks, it's like, that was Aku. It wasn't you. Yes, it's your body and your blade, but it's not you. And you have to, you've brought Aku into their temple, but you have to turn it around now. You have to be the one to remove him and, send him away. And the fact that the child Jack runs back in and it's just, he shoots the one arrow of light and it just goes out and pierces the darkness, and it's able to rebuild the warrior that he's become, and it's able for him to reclaim that as his own and go out, so he rises out of the castle in full armor, with this sword, his sacred sword of his ancestors, blinding light coming from it and just hacking away and destroying every bit of darkness that has tried to invade his inner sanctum. And
I have
just
to say,
really,
I'm still shocked.
It did a lot
now that you put it that way. Not even just you putting it that way, but like just mentioning the fact that, reminding me that all the different characters had shown up from the past episodes, and for thanking him. I have to say, it kind of shocks me a little bit that wasn't the finale, and it wasn't even close to the finale, sadly enough, because it was. I'm not gonna count all the episodes in in the order that they were in. But I'm trying to say that the final episode was Jack versus Aku in the air date wise, and it was about 3 episodes behind that. So it goes the Aku infection, then the princess and the bounty hunters, then Jack and the flying prince and princess. For some reason, they're just one is aired after another, princess and princess, and then the final, after all those, was Jack and versus Aku. So it's very strange to me, I think. And what's even interesting, I mentioned that 4 episodes were aired on the same day, which was September 25th. I just want to point out the craziness of September 25th. They aired Seasons of Death along with Tales of X9, along with Young Jack in Africa, along with Jack and the Baby. That is the fucking weirdest Jack marathon.
Honestly, I think I probably felt the same way as a kid, because I'm pretty sure I probably watched that.
Yeah, and they show the they I don't know what order it was aired in, to be fair, because they don't show you that. They just show, hey, these 4 aired in a row. But holy shit. Just imagine that. Just Seasons of Death, and then Tales of X9, then Young Jack in Africa, and then Jack and the Baby. Doesn't matter what fucking order you put them in. You're still going to get Sad Noir Robot with Jack being in Africa, along with Jack and the Baby. Oh, yes, and then the seasons go by. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
it just throws me off, but it's just a lot of fun because those 4 aired in one block apparently. And so anyway, so oh, I'm sorry. Wait a second. Oh, Matt was wrong here. I'm sorry. Matt is a fool. Everyone, Matt is a fool. Matt has misled all of you. Matt is working with Aku. I looked at the dates wrong. It was I, Walter. No, apparently Jack vs. Aku was aired November 24, 2003. Yes, November is after September, but I had failed for some odd reason to look at the dates and realized, yes, September 25th is when all 4 of these aired in 2004. So in other words, the last episode to air before a very large gap was Jack vs. Aku. And then it's like, oh my goodness, is this the end? And they're like, nah, here's another 4. And then children were shown in the same block on the same day. This makes it even worse in a way. Seasons of Death, Tale of X9, Young Jack in Africa, and Jack and the Baby.
Right.
So they are in the correct order. My bad. They're actually in the earlier ones weren't in the correct order according to the production date. Right, earlier ones were in the correct order. But looking at the last 4 versus the quote-unquote season finale, yes, the finale, did quote-unquote was, Jack versus Aku, what I thought was the finale. That did come last on November 24th. And then months later, literally nearly a year later for some odd reason, they then aired the last 4. I don't know why. Maybe they seemed problematic because one, involved death, and then the other, or they just seemed very esoteric. Like one involved, X9, and that might have been problematic. I don't know what was up with Young Jack in Africa. Maybe the depiction were throwing people off, right? And maybe Jack and the Baby was like, well, that having a baby being put through that. I don't know what it was about. Maybe the Japanese-ness of it. Which sounds funny when I'm talking about Samurai Jack, but they actually mention Momotaro's story by name. So, I don't know, man. Now, it's funny. As we're trying to end the show, a new wrinkle comes up. Like, no, Matt was wrong. This is even weirder now. But we're gonna have to end things. So, I was gonna say anything you want to say. You've had your chance, Tristan. You've said everything you wanted to say. I cannot give you the mic again. Okay.
I'll just take
I want to thank you all. Yeah, take it.
It was I. We both take off the mask. We're both Aku.
I made that joke at least a good episode or 2 ago. Like, well, this is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was really
Aku
me.
reveals. Oh man. Anyway,
myself.
So,
and
by the way,
Aku
so
and I.
before I really wrap this up, I have to say, I think the only thing I didn't like about Jack and the Infection, the only thing I didn't like about it, minus the robot rant, because I admit that was small, that was me being a dick. The other thing is, would that really happen? Because I know it felt like, oh my god, what if it does? But in all actuality, imagine, if, that's what fucking, literally, it's like Aku is just like, oh, you became me. Well, shit, I guess that's one way to deal with a problem. What would have happened? Would we have had, Aku Jack? No, I will be the leader. How about no?
Right, yeah.
What would have happened? You see what I mean? What would have happened there? But I can destroy you with this blade. I can also destroy you with the blade. Touché. I don't know what would have happened. But, anyway. So, I want to thank you all for listening in. I want to feel like this is the end and be like, goodbye, see you all, I don't know when. But, not only do we do this show nearly every week because it's the end of Saturday, we're also just going to do Jack next week in some way or another. So, again, I want to thank you all for listening in as always. Please check out our podcast. You're listening to it right now, obviously, but I don't know how you're listening to it. You could be listening to it through our Blog Talk Radio, which is Those Guys on the Radio. You could be listening to it via our old podcast over at our YouTube channel, Those Guys on the Radio. You can search that up. You could be listening to us through iTunes by searching up Those Guys. I don't know how you're listening to us. I really don't. You could also be listening to, you could be watching our Let's Plays, by the way. I mentioned that earlier. Search up Those Guys Play on our YouTube channel. Those Guys Play, and we're currently in the middle of season 3, which is coming back in April. Took a month hiatus, not a 17-year hiatus, or 14-year, just a month. Took a month hiatus for Those Guys Play season 3. However, it doesn't mean that we're not releasing other things, because of course any game that we start in a Those Guys Play season, or even in our Halloween and July specials or our Halloween specials, we actually, like Halloween in October, we actually continue them, afterwards. So we're actually, right now, Tristan and I are playing Luigi's Mansion. We've already filmed and it's coming out because thankfully we've gotten out of the laptop, but we don't know how. So, tune in to find out. Also, we're playing Dragon Ball Z as well in a series called Those Guys Play Dragon Ball Z, because he and I started it in season 3. I'm going to say episode 2, right, with Dragon Ball Z Budokai. And, we have a lot of different games going on. We also have Matt Beats games from his childhood, me being Matt, and currently I'm playing Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. I'm playing Crash Bandicoot 2. I don't know why the 2s are a theme. Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, and also playing Fatal Frame, which I started that back in October. Still going strong, still scary as hell. So, yes, doing a lot of fun stuff on the show. Also we have a Patreon as well, which if you guys want to support us through there to help us continue doing what we're doing, and also to actually get some capture cards or other equipment that we can actually bring even more Let's Plays to you guys. That would be a hell of a lot of fun. Also, depending on how much you donate on our Patreon, which is TG Productions, we call it TG Productions, you can actually get a specific show from us. So we tell you, hey, if you guys want us to do a specific show, not just on, let's say, a Samurai Jack episode or season or something like that, but literally like, top 5 animated shows or top 5 cartoon animated shows or top 5 animated shows from your childhood or top 10 or something like that. It doesn't have to just be a specific episode. Or you get us to do a specific Let's Play with any combination of hosts you want. So that'll be a hell of a lot of fun, right? So we can either do one or the other, or depending on how much you donate, you can actually get a shout-out from us and say, hey, so-and-so is a sponsor for this podcast, or so-and-so is a sponsor for this Let's Play for the entire month that you donate to. So that's a lot of fun. Also, you get some of our merchandise for our Let's Plays and our podcasts over at our main website, which is either thoseguysintheradio.tumblr.com/merchandise or tgproduction.net/merchandise. Or over at our eBay, which is Those Guys Radio. So we're done with the show. Thank you all as always, and you can tune in next week for some more podcasts. Not sure about what podcast you might say, Matt. Well, if you check out our Facebook, which is /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio, our Twitter, which is @ThoseGuysRadio, or our Instagram, which is /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio, we can keep you updated. So, yeah. So thank you all, and hope you have a good night, and say good night, Satish.
It was really Aku.
What? Wait, I was supposed to freak him out like, it's not Satish, but apparently it wasn't even a joke for Satish, nor Tristan. It was Aku.
Maybe we're all
the whole
Aku.
time.
Matt, maybe we're all
naked.
Aku. And maybe we're all Jack.